Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you know, the workplace has and continues to evolve. And, we as leaders, we need to evolve with it. So that's why today we're going to be talking about various types of workplace, just simple workplace work arrangements. And most importantly, for you to understand what model, the different types of models that are out there for you, the upsides and pitfalls of each model, and then just a simple, practical decision making framework to help you lead your team into the future without sacrificing performance. All right, you ready for this? Let's dive in, shall we? And really, there are six right now different types of work arrangements that are going on that we find in the modern work area. And those are compressed work week, hybrid remote work, flexible slash core hours, job sharing, results only work environment, also known as ROW. Fun fact, that's actually my mom's maiden name. And no, I don't use it for any passwords, by the way. And then finally, uh, asynchronous work. All right. So these are the six main types of work arrangements that are we find out there this day and age. Let's dive in and look at exactly what they are, what advantages you get out of them, and what disadvantages you get from them. So first off, let's talk about compressed work week, shall we? The compressed work week is just that. You're taking the exact same type of hours that you do. So the typical 40-hour work week, which normally traditionally is spread across 5 days, which means 8 hours per day, comes to 40. What we're seeing a lot more now is companies doing 4 times 10, which still equates to 40. This is great because it boosts morale, uh, because people, they get a longer weekend out of it in the end. It actually sharpens focus. What companies who have employed this model have found is that people actually waste less time when they have a compressed work week because subliminally thinking they have less time. But the reality is you have just as much time, but people believe that they have less time because of that 4 day cycle versus the 5 day cycle. So they get focused more and they concentrate more so on their tasks. You see a lot less water cooler talks going on within the workplace. All right. And then finally, it reduces burnout because it gives them that 3 day weekend to rest, recharge, and be able to take care of the things they need to take care of at home. The downside, though, is it is long days. 10-hour days can be long for some people, especially if you're doing super physical work. Um, right. And then, fatigue sets in. I know I just said it reduces burnout, but also fatigue. People will get tired. So burnout occurs kind of on the longer burn, whereas fatigue is on the shorter train, right? So people are going to get tired uh, easier through the days, but on the flip side, they don't burn out per se because they get that chance to recoup and rest and so on. Uh, and the final con for the compressed work week is, especially if you're in a client focused organization or business, there may be limited availability for clients. So if you say, hey, our shops are closed every Friday, then you're missing out on a full day's worth of clients' meetings, people showing up, what have you. So that's something to consider. Okay, the second type of work arrangement that we find out there this day and age is either the remote or hybrid work. This got, exploded during COVID, right? Everyone got sent home, um, and all suddenly people were working from home in a very remote type setting. As we came out of COVID, you saw people staying at home, some people going back to the office. There's been a draw back to the office that seems to have stabilized now. And what we're finding is that the balance has set between the amount of people who are working in offices in traditional sense, and then those who are doing remote, and a bit of the blend before between the two. We did see a little bit of this before COVID, but COVID really was the huge catalyst. So, what are some pros of this? It truly expands your talent pool, especially in the pure remote sense, because you're not limited by boundaries. I know of companies who work here in Eastern Standard Time and their people are over in Europe and vice versa. Geography is not a restriction with remote work, which is awesome because it cuts or expands your talent pool. On the other side, it also cuts costs. No longer do companies need these big buildings, right? You don't need these massive office buildings anymore because, simply put, people are either remoting or, for the hybrid sense, you need less desks, you need less office space because it's kind of hot bunking, hot swapping, and so on. And then next, it boosts autonomy. People feel good. They feel energized and they can work basically alone, and it enables them to go after and get things done. All right. So that's actually a good thing for them. I would offer morale is also another one because, think about the cost of commuting for the workers now. It's astronomical, right? In both, gas and time. And if you just eliminate that from your day, that increases morale big time. People can do their work and do their laundry at the same time. It is a super force multiplier for that individual. On the flip side, though, you do put your culture at risk. You do have to be intentional, extremely intentional about your culture and ensuring you maintain it in a remote slash hybrid environment. Okay. Communication generally gets siloed. All right, because it's more deliberate to talk. You have to be more deliberate to talk to people. So you have to worry about that. And then finally, team cohesion as well. You miss all those water cooler chats that is quote unquote time sucks. You miss the team lunches, those types of things which bring people together. So you need to find ways to actually bring those to the remote slash hybrid environment. All right. So that's remote slash hybrid. Number 3 is flexible hours slash core hours. It's essentially where employees set their own schedules within a set number of hours. So if they're working 8 hours a day, they can set it within the 24-hour period of the workday. Okay. Again, this is enhances autonomy. So enables people for them to adjust work life with their personal lives. A lot of people out there with kids, they're like, hey, I can't work prior to 8, or maybe it's 9 or 10, what have you, and they adjust accordingly based on their children's schedule. People who take care, maybe they have super young kids that aren't in school yet, to take care of their kids during the day. Once they go down to bed, they work 8 hours and then crash and then restart. It's difficult. They're superheroes. God love them. Incredible. All right. So it's great for autonomy. It's great for caregivers. That was like, as I just mentioned, and also reduces commuting stress because some people will, if they're working in the office, they'll adjust their hours based on commuting. That's something which I've done in my day job, which my team has done in the day job here in Montreal. So if you're not tracking, if you don't know my background, I'm actually a senior Canadian Army officer, and I currently command the country's largest supply depot out of Montreal. And Montreal, being Montreal, there is always construction and there's always traffic issues. Long story short, people have changed their work hours to address the traffic issues and help them get in and out of work a bit better than the standard, basically, hours. All right. So some issues though with flexible and core hours is scheduling challenges, right? Especially if you got different time zones. Like getting a team meeting can be extremely difficult in this sense. So Scheduling is going to be difficult. You're going to have inconsistent collaboration because, frankly, getting everyone together, getting them together, being able to work together at the same time, it's tough, especially in the flexible if people are constantly changing their schedules. All right, so that's number three. Number four, job sharing. It's kind of basically a new spin on part time. It's basically where two people split one full time role. The great thing about this is you're going to get diverse perspectives uh, from it because you have two different people doing the same job. Okay, so that's actually a strength. You're going to enable work life balance for both these people because they're not working a full time job, so they can enables them to schedule their life a bit better around their job. And then finally, continuity. As long as you can keep those two people, the same two people, doing that one full time role, you're going to have continuity. Reduces the risk of errors, mistakes, issues, so on. Increases your ability to be productive. All right. However, on the other side, complex coordination. You're coordinating with two different people, trying to work out schedules, coordinating tasks, and so on. All right. Blurred accountability. So, it's tough. If the mistake happens, who's at fault? And you end up having to try to figure that out. And then there's salary complications between maybe someone has more seniority than another and tracking exactly. Maybe there's a flexible hour arrangement within that job sharing arrangement. So maybe one week one person works more hours than the other and they flip flop from week to week. So it is difficult, but it can work for sure. You just have to decide whether or not it's for you. Okay, number five, results only work environment or ROW. This is ba- super common we find now in tech startups in general. Okay, ROW. And that's where employees are judged purely on output, not hours or presence. Okay. Um, I had a boss once upon a time. He was the opposite of bro. If you weren't in your desk at your seat, he believed you weren't working, which was very challenging indeed. He would not, let me tell you, employ this type of model. Okay. The advantages of Row is that it maximizes performance and it empowers your high performers. It really energizes them because they feel they're getting value or recognized for the value that they're inputting into the company. Um, so it maximizes their performance and empowers them to go after more. Um, but on the downside, you really need a high level of trust and maturity within the team. It's way too easy for people just to slog off and do nothing, and then suddenly nothing is done. Right? It's difficult to adopt for traditional teams. Hence, why we see it a lot more in the startup community, where you're small, you're feisty, and you're going after things. Okay, so that's row number six. Finally, that was number five, and finally number six, asynchronous work. It's basically it's you just have your tasks and away you go. There is no expectation of real time communication. Work happens when it's best for the individual. The individual gets to decide their work hours, how long, how much they're going to work, and etc. Right? Um, it's great for deep work and global teams. People can just kind of hunker down and crunch away, and it doesn't matter where you are in the globe. And that's pretty much it. Um, it is on the opposite side though. It is very difficult for decision making. Because it's hard to get all the information in a timely basis or get everyone around the table so that you can get informed as a leader. You have super high risk of misalignment between the team members because everyone's basically doing their own thing. So you as the leader, you need to be on top of that. And then you have a heavy need for documentation. Everything needs to be documented because everyone is basically disjointed around the world, whatever. Okay. So that is asynchronous work. So again, those six are compressed work week, remote hybrid work, flexible work hours slash core hours, job sharing, results only, and then asynchronous work. So let's go into, we talked about what they are, we talked about the pros, the cons of each one. Let's talk about, though, how you can actually figure out how to pick which one. And it's simple. It's a very simple framework. We call it the Flex Fit Leadership Framework. Flex is an acronym. Okay, function, leadership readiness, employee needs, execution, and metrics. So let's talk about each one of those. So F, function. What does your team do? So when you're looking at them, when you're looking at changing the work arrangements within your team, you have to look at what does your team do. What are the operational realities within your team? If you're a customer based, you have a shop, compressed work week or asynchronous work might not be the best one for it. But, potentially you can think about, job sharing or maybe some flexible core hours within a set particular amount. Okay. So, what does your team do? What are the operational realities? That's F. L, leadership readiness. Are you ready to let go of control and lead through trust and accountability? You need to check yourself, right? This is a lot that's going on to your team members. And you, as the leader, you need to be ready. You need to know, all right, how am I going? You need to think about things such as culture, cohesion, check ins, okay? And how are you actually going to go about that? And accountability. How are you going to keep your team accountable for results? So, L is all about you as the leader because if you are not ready for this, you're not ready to get away from the traditional sense, this is going to fail. Doesn't matter what one you pick. Okay, that's L. E, think about your employee needs. What does your team value? Is it stability, freedom, predictability? What do they need from their standpoint to achieve their day to day? If they need fast decisions, asynchronous is probably not right. If they can't get a hold of you when they're working at 3 a.m. because you're asleep, yeah, you might want to reconsider. Okay. So, what do they need? And then finally, X, execution and metrics. Can you measure success without measuring time in seat? Okay. It's not always about sitting in the seat, but what deliverables, what do they have that you can go ahead and measure to give them back, make sure. Okay. So that is the Flex Fit leadership framework when you're thinking about changing your work arrangement. Again, function, leadership readiness. And again, this might be not just you, but your subordinate leaders too. Okay. Employee needs, and then execution and metrics. Okay. So you've gone through, you've decided you're going to change your frame, how you guys operate. You've gone through that framework, and now you're like, okay, we got a model. How do we go ahead and implement the model? And it's simple. Pilot it first, test it with a single team if you have multiple teams, or maybe with a couple people if you only have a single team, before you go and scale. Test it first to see how it's working. Okay. Next is set your expectations. Define what great performance looks like. Define what not acceptable is. Ensure everyone understands what those are, what the two ends of the spectrum are, and everything in between. Do not let anything go to assumption. Okay. Next is gather feedback from your team. Ask them how it's going. What do they think? What's working for them? Again, it's all about them. Gather the feedback. Don't guess. Ask them. Hold town halls. Call them face to face. Go visit them. What have you. It doesn't matter. Just get the feedback. And then finally, refine and expand. Tweak what doesn't work and double down on what does work. And if you're good for it, keep going. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the framework for enabling you to decide what kind of, you know, what kind of work relationship you should change to or employ within your organization if you're going to get away from it. Again, those six different ones are uh, they are sorry, compressed work week. Getting tongue tied here. Compressed work week, remote hybrid work, flexible hours, core hours, job sharing, results only work environment row, and then finally asynchronous work. And if you're thinking about changing, again, use the flex fit model of function. What does your team do? Leadership readiness. Are you ready? Are your subordinate leaders ready? Your employee needs. What do they need? Execution and metrics. How do you measure success? That is it. That is all. I am your chief leadership officer. And hey, if you need help, um, if you need a community of like-minded leaders, there's one there for you. I'm literally getting off of this live stream and jumping into our weekly call with our leader growth mastermind. So if you want a community of leaders, you want support, you want the ability to talk about your issues, get guidance, get coaching, this is it for you. It is by far the best program on the planet for leadership development. And you'd be shocked at what you get for what you pay. And simply just go to leaddon'tboss.com/mastermind and you can sign up now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me. Remember, as always, lead, don't boss, take care, and we'll see you next time.